hone your skills. Look, boy, you in the danger room.
Hello viewers and welcome back to the channel for a new video on the manufacturer series of GT Sport. For this round, the round 15, we are going to be at Dragon Trail Garden 2 in the GR3 cars. For this one, I was able to qualify 7. Wasn't a great quali. It's a very tricky track. I will come back on it a bit later. But for the strat of this race, I will be starting with medium compounds. We'll have to stop at least once to put on the hardest compounds, as they are going to be the must, a must for this race. So some fuel saving also will have to be done during this race, so you don't lose too much time in the pits, and if possible saving enough that you don't have to fuel. So for that, I'm just going to brake a little bit earlier, leaf and coast. I won't use the fuel map as I don't like to use it, to be honest, and yeah, just trying to short shift as much as I can and just lift a little bit before braking. So hopefully we were able to gain some position at the start of a race, and you're going to see a very close race during this vid. I think it might be one of my best race I had so far. It was very tense also, but clean, very clean race too. So as I said earlier, it's a very tricky track. A lot of difficult corners. It might seem very easy, but actually it's not. For example, on this one, the third sector, combining the chicane and the long right coming onto the start finish line, which is very difficult to get it right on every lap. So usually we mostly get this track on the reverse layout of this one. So for example, this sector, the sector 1, is usually the third sector, which is quite it's not that difficult to get these corners right, but if you get in there with too much speed, you will lose a lot of time. For this one, the quadruple left, it's still difficult to get it right because you don't really know when to get on the power right, so very tricky. It's very tricky. I mean, every section of this track is very technical, and you have to be spot on every aspect of it. So braking points, the hitting the apex, everything, and just try not to fight too much, because yes, it might be difficult, but there is a lot of places where you can overtake. So for example, this one is an opportunity to overtake, but usually on the reverse one, the first time you go on the right, we usually go on this red sausage, as we call it, and you can gain some time. But on this one, as you are doing it reverse, you prefer to skip it, and like you sacrifice the right turn to get a better turn into the left, so you can have best take off coming out of the corner. So it's not impossible to make it right, but it's difficult to make it right on every laps, because we also need to think that there is the slipstream effect also, because when you train for these events, usually you're on your own, setting some lap times, and there's no one around you, so that makes things much more easier. But once you have someone in with you, there is the slipstream, the pressure he can put on you if he's behind. So you have to be very careful and take your time if you want to have a good result. So For this one, we are doing our best to keep the same gap with those in front. We are just going to force forward this part because it was quite the same every laps. Sometimes I was able to close the gap on those in front of me, and then they did create a small gap afterwards, and it kept on going like that, getting close to them, and they run away, they get close, we get close back on them, and yeah, so it was like that for a couple of laps. So coming in at the end of lap 8, we are now very close to a German, and to reduce the slipstream effect that caused me to go a bit deep on the corners, I decided to move on the right, but that actually transformed as an overtake. He did leave enough space on this one. He was very smart on this one to let me go, and he even decided to stay behind. So that shows you that he just wants to get back on the Swedish in third. So we are going to work together a little time, just make sure that we don't fight and lose time on him, so we can get back on him and try our best to gain a bit more position during this race. So far, don't forget that we started in 7th, now we are 4th. Yes, we do have 2 guys who did pit in front of us, and one who did bin on the first lap too, so we don't really know what's their pace behind, so we just need to make sure we stay focused on the race. So far the laps time are quite good, not extraordinary, but it's quite good. Here we did want a bit deep because we didn't hit the curb right on this one. So still in 4th, we do have the German right behind to seize any opportunity he can have to overtake us, but I'm not bothering myself with him for now because he's driving smart, so just focus on trying to get back on the Swedish, who's quite fast, I need to say. This Viper is very fast. Since the last BOP update, we can see that there are some cars that before this update we didn't see them a lot, and now cars, the manufacturers like the Viper, the Hyundai for example, also are much more upfront in the races now. So that's very interesting, because now the GR3 category is getting more diversity in a way of like you can have a very good result on any cars you drive now. So that's very interesting. I need to say that they really did a great job on this last BOP for the GR3s, but that's my opinion. Maybe somewhat agree with me on this one, but for the GR3s they did a great job on the BOPs. So the Swedish in front trying to break the toe by moving on the straight. So when he's doing that, you understand that okay, there is someone behind who's quite fast, and he's ready to take this place, so I need to go faster now. So we are keeping with him, getting closer on some corners. It seems that there are some sections on the track where I'm much better compared to the others, and on other sections they are much better than me, so that equals the performance of everyone on this one. So we just need to be very patient and wait to see what are the opportunities that comes to us on this race. Also for this race, as you can see, I did change my livery, like the previous one at Interlagos with the GR4. I did change my livery. I went for a color that I don't usually go for, the McLaren orange. Quite nice, quite nice. I hope you are enjoying this color or not. If you don't or like it whatsoever, just leave a comment, give you your thoughts on this livery, and if you can help me also on the liveries, you're most welcome. So back onto this race, we are still right behind the Swedish. We are still saving fuel, because for the Jag I need to save fuel a lot. I need to save fuel a lot on this one, because it's not very good on the fuel, to be honest. It's getting better on the tires, but on the fuel I won't say it's awful, but according to my driving style I really need to save fuel on that. And you can see also that the Spanish, who is second, did a mistake. We are now back on him. That's a very good thing too, but that means that the South African guy is on his own up front. But to be honest, at any moment during the race I thought I would be able to see the South African guy. So I think for the quali there was nearly a second gap between him and me, so I don't bother myself with him. On this one I wanted to make sure I can improve my points, that's one thing, and also to make sure that I don't make any mistake during this race, because it was a track I'm not at my ease on it for. I mean, on this type of race where we do have fuel and tire wear included in the race. For the weeklies, for example, it's very short, so you don't have to focus on a long period of time. So for the first corner I did went a bit deep on this one because I came with too much speed, and the German who was right behind us was able to seize the opportunity, and I did let the door open coming out of it, so just to make sure we don't lose even more time that we just did, because we were right behind the Swedish and now I'm nearly 2.5 seconds behind him. So we did lose a lot of time on this one, and now it's only time to make sure we can stay where we are. We do know that the German is fast, so we just need to stay behind him and be clever on this one. So now we are reaching the last laps of a race. Made a mistake here, did hit the German, but I did lift off to let him go, and I did excuse myself after the race for that, so that's cool. The first mistake I made in this race is not pitting right now. I should have followed the Swedish. You can see that his fuel is at 6th, so he will have to add some fuel to make sure he can go to the end of the race. First corner, an opportunity given by the German, give me a little tap to boost me on this straight, and so as I said earlier, just before, made a mistake not pitting. I should have pit, because now even if the Swedish will come with hard compounds, he will still be on nearly the same time that we are doing right now, because of tire wear that are on the medium right now. So should have pitted, put on the hard compounds, so that we can close the gap on him, not only because I have more fuel in the tank, as you can see right now, compared to him, but also I would have been right behind him in his slipstream, and coming onto the last laps, sometimes people make mistakes, we never know. So now, coming at the end of the lap 16, we are going to pit, and you will see that the fuel was just underneath what I needed. I could have go for it even without refueling, but I just wanted to put some fuel so I can go full throttle during the last 2 laps. Coming out of the pits, we are now 7. You can see that the German is 2nd. He didn't pit it yet, and we had nearly like 1.2 second gap with him when we got into the pits. So for the first corner, it wasn't a great drive from me, even on this section too, so I did lose a lot of time. And you will see coming out of this lap that did cost me a lot. That's the problem when you go for the hard compounds. Sometimes you just drive like you were on the medium compounds, but it's not the same thing. It's a bit more slidey. You have to brake a little bit earlier, and also something that people don't always realize, it's the time of day they put the race. Sometimes if it's more sunny than it is, like more sunny than right now, for example, you get more grip because the tarmac is much more warm, so you get more grip. Coming into the last lap, the German is in the pit, the Frenchman in front went into the pit too. The German, even if he had to put some fuel, is able to come in front of us out of the pit in 6th place. So we did lose a lot of time coming out of the pit. So on my out lap, I did lose a lot of time, and that did cost us a position, because now we are 6th in the race, and unfortunately we won't be able to recover that, because those in front are not going to make any mistake, and I won't be close enough to be able to have an opportunity to overtake them. So for this race, I really enjoy it, to be honest. It's been a while I've not been able to be in a race where it was so close. As I said, I had a lot of fun. It was quite tense too, to be honest, because to make sure that you don't make too much mistakes on long race like that. It was nearly 28 minutes of race. Yeah, 28 minutes, as you can see on the bottom left of the screen. It was very good. It was very good feeling also from the car on this one, and I think I did the right thing, staying behind and try to wait for the opportunities during this race. So started 7th, finished 6th, did improve our points too for this season, and a clean race, so that was awesome. As you can see, we did improve our rank too. We are now in the top 20. I hope we are going to keep it like that and reach the top 10. So I hope you did enjoy this video, people. If you did, you're most welcome to hit the like button, subscribe, and if you want more, don't forget the bell. Until next time, people, stay safe. It was your host, Bertmon 23. Cheers.